Everybody, welcome back. Northernlion plays the Binding of Isaac Afterbirth. Plus, we built a little streak. Not an amazing streak, but a streak of some impressiveness. MXN6RSJV. This is a fantastic start. We have one negative, and it's our HP. And to be honest with you, it's not even a negative. It's just that I want to go to the curse room. Just because you want to go to the curse room, that doesn't mean you got a low amount of HP. Now, am I going to go to the curse room? No. Yes, but mostly just so I can make the Night at the Roxbury reference. I don't actually, just in general, I think it's probably a really bad idea for us to do that right now. But, you know, if we get the chance, if we get a red hard drop, we may consider it. And, you know, for now, we're not sitting at, you know, 700 wins in a row, like some friends of ours, some colleagues of ours. But, we're doing okay. 17. I mean, what? No, actually, I think Sinvicta's way higher than 700 now, but, I mean, either way. We're like a, you know, 180th of the way there. We're starting to make some progress. I'm doing my best, okay? You can't go any faster than one win per run. But it's nice that we're starting to talk about having a slightly longer streak again. Because we went through a period where, you know, I mean, it was a short one, but we went through a period where we weren't really doing that hot. I do completely blame that one time we lost on like 5 wins in a row as a result of the fact that we had like 2.6 or 3.4 damage or something when we got to the chest, but hey, you know, let's let bygones be bygones, and you can go get the heck on you and your mama. I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. Ooh, 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 I am for real. Never. Okay. This, look, great song. Is it my favorite Outcast song? No, it's not my favorite Outcast song. It's a very good one. And, you know, I mean, is Stankonia my favorite Outcast album? No, it's Idlewild. I'm just joking. That's crazy. It's probably Aquemini. I'm a big fan of, you know, like, the Art of Storytelling Part 1. Part 2, I mean. And now, you know what? Oh, you're a real fan? Name all the parts. I can't remember which one's which now. Best song, though? That's a tough one. Hey Ya. Excuse me, that's not Outkast. That's Andre 3000. The Way You Move. Excuse me, that's not Outkast. That's Big Boy. Okay, Roses then. Excuse me, Roses is Big Boy featuring Andre 3000. There's a whole political side of it you need to be aware of. Better come back down to Mars. Bombs Over Baghdad is a great song. Anyway, we don't need to get into it. What we're going to do here instead is fight Pin. And I got to tell you, we got a pretty good setup right here. I'm going to get you. I'm going to get you before you get me. HP is great. We've got a good chance at an arcade on the next floor. And honestly, I think our daily Isaac is going to go pretty well today. I think it's going to go just fine. That is also extremely good. I'm not saying, like, the last run we had was pretty solid. We were a little light on HP at times, and we were a little light on damage for pretty much the entirety of it, but, you know, I'm not complaining. But I am hopeful, maybe, that we could have one that's a little faster. Now, why? Don't wish time away. That's something people have told us during this newborn phase, for sure. I'm not wishing time away, but the thing is, by the time this episode ends, Starbucks will be open. At which point, I can go. And the coffee is interesting to me. Like, don't get me wrong, my body would really like some extra caffeine right now. But my digestive system is already digesting the fantasy of a breakfast sandwich right now. Like, I can already taste the everything croissant. It's like, you know, you can't just have an everything bagel, or you can't have just an everything bagel. It's not like the everything seasoning is unique to bagels. Like, it won't take on a croissant or something like that. It's not like trying to, you know, give yourself a dolphin heart or something like that. don't know why. I was trying to come up with an analogy, and they don't always work. You know, if you got a heart transplant from a gorilla, it might take. But a dolphin heart, I don't even know. It's probably like 8-chambered or something like that. Anyway. Point is, you can put that on everything. It's not like it's extra bougie to have an almond, or not almond, an everything croissant. But either way, I'm not trying to defend myself. I mean, the messaging on Starbucks has changed, right? Like, I'm here to tell you, if you still are saying things like, oh, Starbucks, I'm going to get some fancy coffee, like a cappuccino or a latte. You're basically stuck in, like, 1998. You got to get current with your, with the things you're afraid of but don't seem to understand. Hold on. So I took HP. HP's good. Succubus is great. We'll per-throw this. I think it's a good opportunity for it. That's a great item, dude. I'm sorry, I gotta. But now we just want to make sure we can get as many spirit hearts as possible. And I'm for it. I will say, though, so Starbucks doesn't need a defender. I do think, and I said this about Subway recently, too, but I do think that maybe we've crested, like we've hit a peak on Starbucks. Feels like around like 2008 to 2015, and I'm picking some arbitrary days, but, you know, public perception of Starbucks was at its peak. Everybody's familiar with it. You know, a lot of people have like their own orders that they get every single time they go there. Like, it wouldn't be like, you would be surprised if you talked to somebody, at least that lived in a city with like more than a few thousand people, I guess, and you were like, hey, I'm gonna get something from Starbucks, do you want something? And they were like, what do they even have there, right? Some people would be like, I'm not one of those people that's like, you know, oh, I'll take the orange creamsicle frappuccino, 2 pumps of vanilla. Normally they use hazelnut. Can you get them to use low-fat hazelnut with a soy base, please? Like, I get, whenever and I make an exception for my wife because she's my wife, but I wouldn't say I get offended, but I do get annoyed sometimes when I go like, hey, do you want anything from Starbucks? And then someone will reply to me like with a laundry list of like the exact order that they desire for their drink that has like 8 substitutions in it. And I'm like, really? I was just hoping you'd be like, a latte, please. Maybe it's not fair, but that is the way I feel about it sometimes. I'm like, if you know what? Why don't you just go ahead and get your own order? I don't want to screw it up. I don't want to screw it up for you. But I almost wonder if like public perception of them hasn't gone down a little bit now that you know, there's more local, at least here, I guess. There's more local coffee shops, and, you know, people are like, the Starbucks coffee's not actually that good, which I actually do agree with, but I find it consistent, at least, and I admire the convenience, honestly. You know, maybe you're at a place in your life where you're like, you know what, I'm going to go half an hour out of my way to go to the artisan coffee shop, because their single origin Peruvian whatever has a nice fruity taste to it. I wish I was at that level, but I'm not. Some of us have to work for a living. Okay, that was needlessly insulting, but I just kind of need like a decent coffee and then to get on my way, right? Bombs, please. Works for me. But I will say, if we're talking about like food, Starbucks, it's not there yet, and I don't even know if it's really their fault. But when I'm thinking about like breakfast sandwiches, I'm gonna try it. That's very nice. When I'm thinking about like breakfast sandwiches, which I am oftentimes, I think Starbucks, if I had to grade them, I would end up giving them like a C+. Let me go over this because I think some people might be upset. I probably eat more Starbucks breakfasts than any other chain restaurant, just because I find myself crossing paths with them from time to time. You know, Kate is if we're like at the doctor's appointment or something, when we're leaving, if there's a Starbucks nearby, she'll be like, hey, do you want to go to the Starbucks? And I'll be like, yeah. And I'm not gonna like make a separate trip to get some food. Let's just get some food while we're here. I want to say it's a C+. Not like everything they offer is a C+. Like some of the things they offer, I think, are in the high B range. You know, that everything croissant is pretty good. As mentioned, I'm not sure if I've mentioned that yet. That was dumb. We should use this just to save the spirit heart for now, but pardon me. Some of the stuff doesn't really, you know, tickle my fancy as much. And then there's a few other things. Almost all the breakfast offerings are essentially exactly the same. That hurts. You know what? I'm not afraid anymore. I should have been afraid. This is it's a terrible return on investment for us. Maybe we can find our second secret room, though. I find the variety unimpressive, and it really seems like every sandwich is essentially like some variety of pork product, and then like, you know, do you want the whole egg, or do you just want the egg white? And I see you trying to sneak Gouda into a sandwich to seem like a little bougier or, you know, upscale. It's not that upscale of a cheese for me. I don't mind it, but, you know, I'm not that impressed. You're going to have to bust out like Gruyere or something like that to get me facilitated in that way. But I'm not against it, okay? I'm not against it, and I will go there on occasion. I hate to say it, because anytime you come to the defense of McDonald's on the internet, you get labeled a shill. Hey, and I'm noticing, by the way, the game's running a little choppy here. Let me close some background processes, because we are, you know, this is a serious machine here. Isaac has this problem for a lot of people, but we can do what we can, right? That changed nothing at all. Anyway, whatever. But I'm when it comes to breakfast, I'm a big fan of the McDonald's breakfast. I guess that's the other thing that kind of annoys me about the Starbucks situation is like, you know, oh, that was that. Oh, thank God for host hat, dude. We would have been in a very dangerous situation. That was hugely beneficial. But you know, when you eat at McDonald's, the breakfast is not necessarily that horrible for you, depending on what you get. But you kind of accept that you're going to get a big blast of flavor in exchange for, like, a little hardening of the arteries. At Starbucks, you're like, this sandwich is good. I'm glad I made the decision to eat healthy. Then you look at the actual nutritional data, and you're like, this is worse than an Egg McMuffin. I could have just had the Egg McMuffin. Now, the hash brown, there's no getting around it, but I like a McDonald's breakfast. In the before times when A, I was still going to the gym, and B, gyms were still safe. I say safe instead of open, because they are open right now, but with, you know, COVID on the rise again here, it's a little spicy. It's not the right time, let's put it that way. But when I was still going to the gym, you know, sometimes on my drive back, I'd be like, I'm on my way home, and Kate would be like, can you stop at the McDonald's drive-thru? And I would kind of like be like, oh, but I just worked out. Come on, I just worked out. But actually, I was like, poggy. I get to stop at the McDonald's drive-thru. Although it's busted, like, sometimes it was after 11 a.m. So they had, like, all-day breakfast. I think the menu's, like, much smaller during the, you know, the COVID times here. But, which Gordon Ramsay would be proud of, right? He's always telling restaurants to shrink their menus. How are people supposed to choose between a McDouble and a Grand Mac? It's confusing. That's more of like a Sean Astin. It's confusing, Mr. Frodo. I can't decide. Do I want the McChicken or the fillet of fish? It's not a very good impression. But it is still very early here. In my defense, still very early here. But it's never too early to concern hobbits. We're in a very Okay, we had host hat. So we were safe, but that sucked. Oh my god. So we still have host hat. That has not changed, but Curse of the Tower is mighty dangerous. The worst part about this is that it's completely my own actions that have put me into this position. I definitely should not have taken our second item from the deal with the devil. I definitely also should not have taken our first item from the deal with the devil. Okay, good, that's good. So we're just gonna, like, quintuple down on buying the spirit hearts here whenever possible. That's good. I feel a lot better now. I took a lark because our HP looked good, and I spent 6 spirit hearts on something I shouldn't have bought, and it almost came back to bite me. Thank you, Host Hat, for your help. Let's not do that again. And as a good reminder, hey, Self, remember how, like, you know, you lost that one run because you took Tiny Planet? Yeah, let's keep that in the forefront of your mind instead of the back of your mind. Anyway, I got nothing against Starbucks. I'm just saying I think their food game is a little whack. And, like, don't even give me... Like, the breakfast is, in my opinion, the best thing Starbucks has got going for it. The lunch is, like... I've eaten the wraps. I've eaten, you know, probably one of each sandwich. Probably eaten, like, 30 of the Cuban sandwiches from Starbucks. They're not horrible, but, you know, for the price and the nutritional content and the taste, I think they occupy a weird space. It is one of those places where I would be like, you know what, I'd rather, you know, maybe get a coffee here and then, you know, go across the street to the burrito place or whatever. And as someone who values convenience so highly, that's a rare thing for me to say. On the other hand, I do also just love to eat. So, like, if we're getting a drink at Starbucks, I'll be like, yeah, I'll get some food, too. What can I say? I may not be that big of a fan of the Thai tuna wrap from Starbucks, but if you gave me the choice between a Thai tuna wrap and no Thai tuna wrap, I'll take the Thai tuna wrap. Absolutely. It's an easy decision. Anyway, how we doing here? After a period where things looked very spicy for us, we're actually doing pretty well. This is definitely a situation where that's going to benefit us. I would say, personally, that was so close. One of the best things we could get going for us right now is Guppy's Head. I've reevaluated Guppy's Head. You know, I've ranked it lower on my power rankings. It's no longer an item where, like, I get it and I'm like, oh, I'm giving up everything to take this, even at my own expense. It worked out, go ahead, poorly for me too many times, and I'm willing to admit that. We're going for it, dude. We're going for it. But here, with the trinket that doubles our flies, I think it would be, like, a really nice get, and, I mean, the run is fine. Even with Succubus, I feel like it's slightly underpowered, but... You know, it's not like an enormous deficit right now, and it's only the depths one. We got plenty of time. Kind of hoping for a little bit more than that. Spirit Harder is 7-cent item. Dude, you know what? That's a good 7-cent item. That time, the question marks worked out in our favor. That time, the blue fires worked out in our favor. That's a really good return on our investment there. All right, let's see what we got going on. That's also great, potentially. So yeah, anecdotally, what do we got going on? You know, because we're still living in wild times, we have a doctor's appointment today, but, like, you know, I get it. Don't get me wrong, I get it. But, like, I was allowed, obviously... Let's not make the same mistake again. I was allowed into the hospital for the birth and the delivery and, you know, like, the postpartum period. Which I think, you know, you would have riots on your hand if they started preventing that from happening. But now for the doctor's appointments, like, I'm not even allowed to go in. So I just become, like, a glorified chauffeur. But I'm kind of looking forward to it, you know. I'm reaching that, like, dad level pretty quickly, I think, faster than anybody could have anticipated. Where, like, the highlight of my day today, I'm really looking forward to driving my wife to the doctor's office and then just being like, okay, honey, let me know if you need anything. And then just kind of, like, listening to the radio in the car. That's gonna be a fun time. Nobody can take that away from me. It's not, I don't really have any other options, you know. It's not like I'm gonna bust in there and be like, you know, I don't offer that much to this situation, you know. I'm not gonna flatter myself. So that's basically it. Just that. Today's a Thursday. Today is indeed a Thursday. I don't know why in my head I was like, oh, Survivor's on. I haven't watched Survivor in at least, I would say, like 18 years. But CBS really did a great job with their marketing back then. Even now, I'm like, dude, Thursdays? When I think of Thursdays, what do I think of? Trivia nights in university, and also Survivor on CBS, 8 p.m. Pretty wild. It's the kind of stuff that sticks in your head. You know, so I love living on the West Coast. There's a lot to like. For example, the weather. That's a big one. We get into this all the time. People from the East Coast or the Midwest will actually hit you with the, oh yeah, I mean the West Coast looks nice, but I don't know if I could deal with like all that sun. Like I don't know if I would feel normal if there weren't like 6 to 7 months a year where it was in the minuses, and you know every time I had to go out in the winter time, I had to wake up like 3 hours early in order to scrape off my car and then also turn it on with the remote starter and make sure it gets heated up so my hands don't get stuck to the steering wheel when I start to drive. I just don't know, like, I just think I'm built for that kind of stuff. Here, let me spoil something for you. Nobody is built for that kind of stuff. It's, you know, the inventions that we as a people have created that allow human beings to inhabit that sort of climate. I'm not exclusively talking about, you know, indoor heating or whatever. You know, I'm even just having shelter in general, but let me put it this way, if your heat went out, I think you'd probably be like, you know what, I think I can deal with the sun and the rain a little bit more. But I understand why, because it's not because of the weather, it's because living through the weather gives you a false sense of superiority. And I say that as somebody who used to live in, you know, a fairly cold part of Ontario. I mean, it's southern Ontario, but it's still, by world standards, it's cold. Yeah, I'm not living in Brandon, Manitoba, or like alert Nunavut, but still, you know, it could hit like minus 30 some days. And if you're like, oh, minus 30, that's nothing. In where I live, it gets to be minus 40. Okay, what's the difference? We're both staying inside. It was cold enough where I grew up that, like, we would beg the teachers not to force us to go outside for recess. But they would be like, no, you gotta go. It's like the law. And then we would just kind of like, on some days, we would just kind of huddle together for warmth. And your ears hurt for like 3 hours after you came inside. But anyway. But it gives you a false sense of superiority that's hard to, you know, get over. Like, having like a personality is hard. This is gonna offend some people. Like, having a personality is hard. You have to have like opinions and say them and, you know, generate interest in that way. It's much easier to just be like, I'm the guy who wears shorts in March in, you know, 4-degree weather. So I understand. But anyway, I didn't originally intend to get into this by offending, I don't know, like 30% of my viewer base. Instead, what I was going to say, where are you going, was one of the very few things I do not like about living on the West Coast is that, you know that feeling of like that you get once every 2 years when a highly anticipated video game comes out in New Zealand before it comes out in America, and then, you know, you find yourself posting on message boards like, why does New Zealand get it first? This is ridiculous. I live in the United States and this is the first time I haven't had priority access to something in my entire life, and now I know how it feels to be a Canadian who was a big fan of The Daily Show in 2004, but every time people linked to a clip and they were like, you gotta see this, you would click on it and be like, oh, this isn't available in your region. You see? Now you know what it's like. That's what it's like being on the West Coast, but watching a television show. Now, I don't watch a lot of like primetime network or cable TV, right? So it doesn't happen that much, but even stuff like Game of Thrones, you know? It would be on at like 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. on the East Coast, and the whole thing is tailored around the East Coast. It means it airs at 6 p.m. on the West Coast. That's too early, dude. I mean, the sun's still out. I'm watching season 8, episode 3. I can't see anything. I'm like, it's the middle of the summertime. Can you turn down the bright or turn up the brightness, please? Some of us are living in an area that, you know, is a little bit lighter than Westeros. I don't, and it's the same thing, like, I guess that's why, like, really popular primetime shows tend to air at, like, 8 p.m. Because at least 8 p.m., you know, people on the East Coast won't be going to bed for a little bit. People on the West Coast might be getting home from work roughly around this time. That way we can all experience it together. But God help you, like, if you're a show that airs at, like, 6 p.m., that's busted, dude. Of course, you could just, like, accept that, you know, you could just watch it after the people on the East Coast, but in today's, spoiler-rich world... that's not an option. I can't live with the fact knowing that people in Rhode Island saw that Jeopardy episode 3 hours ago. I gotta know immediately if anybody in Final Jeopardy knows what 2 provinces share a border with the Northwest Territories and Nunavut. It's Manitoba, Saskatchewan, by the way. It's Manitoba, Saskatchewan. I hate to bring the nationalism into it, especially now, but it does... Look, Jeopardy is an American television program that allows Canadian contestants. You, as a Canadian, should have to know more about American history than Americans know about Canadian history in order to succeed on Jeopardy. I believe in that, okay? If they made a show called Canadian Jeopardy that asked as many questions about Canada as Jeopardy asks about America, you could air it in Canada, nobody would watch it. All of the Canadians would watch American Jeopardy instead. I hate to say it, but it's the truth. Look, if I hate to say I don't have national pride in this regard, okay? But if you give me the option between watching, like, show or Canadian show, like Family Feud or Canadian Family Feud, I'm gonna watch the American version. They tend to do TV better than us. Now, the flip side is if an American network did, like, a remake of Letterkenny or, like, Trailer Park Boys, absolutely not. We're gonna be sticking with the original on those, but you stick with the original in most circumstances anyway. Oh, we will take. Although we did just lose Empty Vessel there. But I do, sometimes as a Canadian, watching Jeopardy will just, like, blow your mind. Like, they had, that was a Final Jeopardy question. It was like, the Four Corners is the part of Canada where Nunavut and the Northwest Territories border these 2 prairie provinces. Good luck. And then, like, literally nobody got it. It's not a super easy question. Like, I wouldn't expect the average Canadian to know that it's Manitoba and Saskatchewan. Like, I would... I think we want this, actually. It's a tough one, though. We definitely want Empty Vessel back. That's a big get. I would expect the average Canadian to at least offer a coherent guess, but, you know, the average Canadian also is not a Jeopardy contestant, you know? You gotta go through a rigorous process to actually even get on the show. I wouldn't expect the average Canadian to be able to answer, like, a third of the questions on Jeopardy to begin with. Myself included sometimes, depending on the categories. But, like, it does bum you out sometimes that, like, the Americans on the show, if you ask them, like, a really specific question about, like, British history, they're like, oh yeah, that was King Harold Haradra. That was, who is King Ivar the Boneless? That's correct. And somebody linked me to one the other day, and I actually saw this one because it's part of the Netflix collection as well, but, literally, the question, the category is like, what month is the holiday in? And then it was Canada Day. Nobody buzzed in. Not one of these 3, you know, Mensa members, and I don't say that sarcastically, knows that Canada Day is in July. It's 3 days before your own Independence Day. And I'll tell you, it's easy to remember, because, like, we live right next door. Like, anytime, it's easy as a Canadian to be indignant when Americans don't know what I would consider to be basic questions about Canada. Because you're like, we're your closest neighbor. You can name, like, 75 British kings. But if they ask a question that's like, what's the capital of Canada? Inevitably, somebody who has just gotten the question right about, like, you know, what the type of radiation that comes off of a black hole is called, they'll be like, what is Toronto? Come on. Like, there's a lot of arbitrage on Jeopardy if you just learned Canadian capitals and then also literally anything about sports. If you had the average knowledge of a Jeopardy contestant, but then added sports plus knowing that Ottawa's the capital of Canada, you could honestly, like, you could do really well. Now, I mentioned this story in Twitch chat the other day. Well, I mean, I was streaming. And, like, more than one person said, doesn't this just show you how irrelevant Canada is? And I just, like, you wonder why people talk about your country in a negative way sometimes. Well, if Americans don't know about it, it must be irrelevant. Hey, Poindexter, here's something for you. Like, 94% of the questions on Jeopardy are completely irrelevant. This was the first woman to swim the English Channel in December. It's not like that's gonna show up, like, you know, you're gonna get kidnapped by somebody that's gonna be like, answer this question or you're dead, you know? It's all meaningless. It just shows, you know, how wrapped up in your own narcissism you can be sometimes. It's ridiculous. Have some understanding of the fact that we live in a world here. You know, it's not merely the United States of America and all the rest here on Gilligan's. Anyway, I'm just saying, you know, it don't cost nothing to not be extremely rude. We'll see how irrelevant my country is, you know, when the fresh water wars start. Everybody wants a little slice of the Great Lakes. And, well, I mean, I guess the Great Lakes are mostly in the U.S., to be fair. Okay, hold on. Hold on and hold the front door. You got me all twisted up now. All of a sudden, 0.79 speed, not looking so hot. All of a sudden, quad shot, not looking like a stellar pickup. Hold up. Shouldn't have given up 2 HP there. I think we were literally just using our orbital, which is kind of embarrassing. What do you got for me? Not a speed down. Something's wrong. We're desperate. We're desperate. I'll do whatever it takes here. There we go. There we go. Tell me more, 'cause it's a demon heart. Okay. I apologize. It's just annoying that, first off, like, I was already insulted by the fact that basic questions, and these are not, like, tough questions about my country, you know? If somebody was like, I'm Canadian, if somebody was like, what month is American Thanksgiving in? I wouldn't be like, what? You guys have a Thanksgiving too? I'd be like November, because they can't shut up about it, and my whole timeline just fills up with football nonsense. I'm already insulted by the fact that nobody knew it, and, you know, add in the double insult that these are supposed to be America's smartest people. And then secondarily, after that, to be like, how could they not know that? You just get double insulted. Oh, it's because nobody cares about your country. It could be worse. Everybody could care about my country. Am I right? Am I right? Anyway, I'm not trying to stoke the fires of nationalism. I'm merely trying to suggest this whole thing could be avoided if you would just learn that Canada Day is July 1st. It's easy to remember because it's the day on Twitter where you can tweet something like, Happy Canada Day, eh? Go get some Tims for me. Hope you enjoy it. See you down at the hockey game, bud. And then everyone will be like, this is worldly. You can copy that exact tweet. Schedule it for July 1st. Don't send it to me on Twitter. It does have a very weird champ energy radiating off of it. But anyway, I'm not. If you're like, why are you insulting America? I'm not insulting America. I'm insulting the 2 Americans specifically who defended their ignorance of the month, not even the day, but the month that Canada Day was in by calling my country irrelevant. You could just take the L on not, you know, knowing the answer to a question. It doesn't have to be like, oh, this whole geopolitical thing, you know? I don't control the relevance of my country. I'm doing everything I can, dude. Telling you, hey, Bryan Adams, Celine Dion, Barack Obama. Okay, Barack Obama is not... He's not Canadian. I can't back that one up. I was really hoping the virus was going to hook us up there. Oh, God! I think... Like, this is still winnable, and if we lose it, it's entirely my fault. One might even suggest it's karma. However, we could, alternatively, just win it. That's not helpful. That is also not helpful, but it is kind of humorous. So I think we're going to move on. I'm a little frightened, don't get me wrong. And I was just going to say, with such low speed, it's not really a room you want to see, but we got a little lucky, I think, and... this would be a great Degas. You got to use it. Oh, yeah, you know what? We could walk it back to the original room and then use it. We're hoping it's Degas. Pair throw could be fine. AWAS is pretty much the worst. Maybe this is our secret room? It's not. Well, what is this pill then? It's another one makes you small pill. I'm okay with taking an L, but not to Dingle. Not to Dingle. We got enough bombs. We got... Dude, Host Hat, by the way, has probably saved our life, like, at least 6 times over the course of this one run so far. That's pretty remarkable. Oh my god, that was close. Did you see how close that bottom shot got to us? That was a little spicy. Just a touch spiced. I don't like this. We got like weird diagonal shots, and also these spiders can jump much farther than I'd like them to. Is it farther or further, dude? I can never remember. Is there a difference between the two words, farther and further? Oh my god! That's a good get. That's a very good get. Now just chill. The dodging is insanely important. I'm trying to go a little easy on myself, too. Like, I've made some mistakes on this run. 0.8 speed is not in the muscle memory. You're used to having a little bit more than that, but we're going to do it here. Okay, dude, honestly, touch dangerous, but we made it happen. We also played pretty well on the chest, except for that one little bit of damage we never should have taken. But for now, thanks for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed the episode. If you did, click the like button. Helps out a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. See ya!